Describing a person or place. Descriptive writing has always been a headache for students. Most don't have a firm enough grasp of English to handle the sensory descriptions, so they avoid descriptive writing details. And if they have to do it, resort to piling adjectives on top of one another. Let's start by looking at this. I have a coworker. Her name is Laura. She has 3 cats and takes them to dog shows very often. During work breaks, we would get together and talk about her 3 cats and my boyfriend. The more I get to know her, the more I realize she has low self-esteem. For one thing, she thinks she is overweighted, and her troublesome relationship with her boyfriend seemed to confirm that fact for her. At first, I did not know why she never talked much about her family. But as I got to know her, I realized they were never there for her. Her lousy dad left her shortly after she was born, and her depressed mom was always drinking. Perhaps that is why she has so much trouble with personal relationships. A month ago, she broke up again with her 9th boyfriend, and a stable long-term relationship is not very likely for her. What a shame. She told me she would find someone who would accept her cats as part of her. I certainly hope she will find that special someone someday. The problems with this piece: the narrator spends too much time telling us what Laura is like, but readers would rather see for themselves. Besides, the piece moves at one pace and seldom dwells on details readers would like to know about. These are just a few things I found that really help. You need to give a vivid portrayal of whatever you are describing. If you are describing a person, tell your readers how the person looks. List the person's physical features and describe them. Describe the person's actions. Provide dialogues. Let the person speak for herself. Give an anecdote or incidents that help illustrate that person's character. Give a hint of what the narrator feels about the person. If you are describing a place, tell us how it looks, sounds, feels, and smells, and what it means to you. Decide whether you will be looking at the place from 1. A stationary vantage point, 2. A moving viewpoint, or 3. A combination of both. This is a rewrite of the original. Note the use of dialogues and anecdotes throughout. Look at my kids! He won Best in Show and she won Best of Breed. This is in the local AFC show. Laura went on and on, flashing photo after photo of her victorious poodles before my eyes. I keep no dogs, but have a boyfriend and a cat to look after. So during our work breaks, I walk to her cubicle so we can brag about our kids. Her 12 by 14 cubicle is right at the far corner on the top floor, with pictures of her cats all lined up on her shelf, next to her Bible. Numerous dog show certificates on the cubicle walls. No sign of any family photos. Whenever I visit her, Laura has a stack of photos in one hand and a K9 magazine in the other. She smiles, shakes her little finger at me and says, "Hey Jules!" Jules is also the name of one of her cats. We get the routine down pat. 5 minutes on poodle coat care, another 5 on the politics of dog shows, and 1 minute or 2 on my cat, and she shoves the pictures to me to look at in my own time. Our daily chat, other than pet anecdotes, consists of not much more than tireless streams of grievances, more from her than me. She could not have lavished more adjectives on canine beauty than on her frustrations of life. My idiot boyfriend left me again. All these stupid people think I'm stuck with losers. My boss promoted a tall, skinny blonde over me. I'm too fat to get a husband. When I first heard the last complaint, I took a good look at her. Short, plump, black curly hair, hazel eyes, and really rosy cheeks. She looked almost pretty in loose clothing. I told her I would rather be a little bigger myself, skinny as I am. But she said I was closer to the norm, and since her parents passed her such fat genes, she elected not to contribute to the gene pool. She would breed cats instead. I lost no time in pursuing her about her family. Reluctant at first, she told me her story bit by bit. Her father left her mother for a teenage girl soon after she was born, and her mother has been drinking herself nearly to death ever since. Laura ended up spending a great deal of time with her grandmother, who is now in a nursing home diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. As if to convince herself not to get involved in another relationship, she incessantly reminds herself of the frailties of men. They are scoundrels, scumbags, losers, craving only youth and beauty, even if they have neither. All reminders are lost, however, when she runs into an attractive guy. Just last month, I overheard her saying, "I went by the drugstore yesterday to pick up some drugs, and they had a new pharmacist. Now talk about cute, and no ring on the finger." I could not help smiling. Her poodles seem to be a constant source of dispute between her and her men. In fact, her 9th boyfriend just left her because of the animals. He said it's either him or them. But how can I part with my cats? She blotted away her tears with 2 balls of tissue papers. You know what? If I am ever going to marry, I'll make sure my husband loves my cats as Jesus loves his church. I'll think about whether to obey him later. I walked away from her cubicle almost exhilarated about having a man and a cat as a stable companion. This is from El Hoyo by Mario Suarez. From the center of downtown Tucson, the ground slopes gently away to Main Street, drops a few feet, and then rolls to the banks of the Santa Cruz River. Here lies the section of the city known as El Hoyo. Why it is called El Hoyo is not very clear. In no sense is it a hole, as its name would imply. It is simply a river's immediate valley. Its inhabitants are Chicanos who raise hell on Saturday night and listen to Padre Estanislao on Sunday morning. While the term Chicano is a short way of saying Mexicano, it is not restricted to the paisanos who come from the old Mexican with the territory or the last famine to work for the railroad, labor, sing, and go on relief. Chicano is the easy way of referring to everybody. Pablo Gutierrez married the Chinese grocer's daughter and now runs a meat department. His sons are Chicanos. So are the sons of Killer Jones, who threw a fight in Harlem and fled to El Hoyo to marry Cristina Mendez. And so are all of them. Descriptions appealing to the 5 senses. When you add more details and bring the description to life by thinking about the 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Task 1. Decide which of the 5 senses are the following descriptions focusing on. 1. Does it feel nice or horrible, soft or hard, rough or smooth? But for me, her hair feels soft and silky. 2. Mum's cooking was disappointing. Her dishes tasted foul and were much too salty. 3. There was a loud crash followed by an ear-piercing scream. 4. The beach was beautiful, with white waves breaking onto the golden sand. 5. The scent of flowers was so strong that it filled the whole house with a sweet aroma. Answers. 1. This appeals to the sense of touch. 2. It appeals to the sense of taste. 3. It appeals to the sense of noise. 4. It appeals to the sense of sight. 5. It appeals to the sense of smell. Descriptions of feeling and personality using adjectives. For example, I felt tired, lonely, and homesick. She is tall and very pretty. Although he has a mean father, Simon is very generous. Task 2. For the adjectives below, write what they can usually be used to describe. Pause the video right here. In the blank spaces, put down what they can usually be used to describe in terms of the sense, and then press play again when you are ready. Answers. 1. Bitter describes taste. 2. Bright describes sight or personality. 3. Bumpy describes touch. 4. Crash describes sound. 5. Faint describes sight, sound, smell, manner, or feeling. 6. Gentle describes sight, sound, touch, or manner. 7. Harsh describes touch, taste, or sound. 8. Loud describes sound or manner. 9. Rich, describes taste, sight, smell, or sound. 10. Rough, describes touch or manner. 11. Salty, describes smell or taste. 12. Shiny, describes sight. 13. Soft, describes touch or sound. 14. Sour, describes taste or feeling. 15. Sweet, describes taste or smell. 16. Spicy, describes taste. 3. Details. The main article. The middle section consists of a number of paragraphs that expand the main topic of the article into subtopics. The usual components are subheadings, facts and statistics which support the writer's opinion, personal viewpoints, opinions from authorities and experts, quotes and interviews, photographs, tables, diagrams, and grades with captions. 4. Conclusion. The concluding paragraph should leave a lasting impression by reminding the reader of the article's main idea, suggesting an appropriate course of action, and encouraging a change of attitude or opinion. Sample article. Read the following article about the causes of youth problems in Hong Kong. Underline the topic sentences. Pause the video to read through the article and press play again when you are ready. It has become common for the mass media to say that Hong Kong has a youth problem, and that youth crime, as indeed police statistics confirms, is on the increase. In this essay, I want to suggest 6 reasons why this is so. Before I begin, however, I would like to make 2 points. The first is that the bulk of crime in most societies is committed by young men who tend to be very active, daring, and at times violent. As they mature, they often calm down and become less likely to show this kind of behavior. My second point is that statistics are hard to interpret. If people are more conscious of a crime and report it more, the littering in Hong Kong, but prosecutions does not mean it is uncommon. If the police suddenly cracked down on it, the statistics would seem to show that littering was becoming more common, even if the opposition were true. Having made those 2 points, let me now try to explain why there is a youth problem. The first reason is rather surprising. Hong Kong has become more prosperous. More affluent parents prefer their children to remain in education, even though it may not be suitable for them. They hang around with little to do. Boredom and wanting to show off lead them into trouble. Second, it is a fact that our society is very materialistic. People are increasingly judged by their wealth, and a get-rich-quick mentality is common. Quite a lot of business is corrupt. Gambling is common. There is no real system of morals to discourage teenagers from illegally gaining a quick financial reward. Thirdly, as a result of the first 2 reasons, Hong Kong parents are not looking after their children properly. People work long hours and are tired when they get home. Children are left largely on their own devices. In many cases, parents try to compensate by handing over extra pocket money, but that can lead to more trouble. The education system too is a problem. The curriculum is unimaginative, and classes are frequently oversized. The exam-oriented system either puts unneeded stress on the students or makes them give up and turn to other activities where he or she seems to achieve more success. The effect of the modern world cannot be ignored, especially in big cities like Hong Kong. The rate of change is bewildering and the pace of life unsettling. We are overstimulated with a constant flow of information, videos, action, computer games, and news. This result can lead to very confused and excitable teenagers. In addition, the living conditions for many people in Hong Kong are very poor. Families are crowded into really small flats. Young people who struggle at school can look down onto rather dull jobs in the service industries. They develop feelings of dissatisfaction and depression, and seek to escape them through criminal activities. Solutions are not easy to find, as the problems lie very deep in society. The institution that potentially has most influence over young people and which the government has most control over is the school system. I believe, then, that only by means of imaginative reform of our schools can we solve the puzzle of youth crime. Let us now underline the topic sentences. Exercise. Read the following article about the causes of drug problems in Hong Kong. Underline the topic sentences. To solve a problem, one must understand it. Why, then, do people take drugs? There is probably no simple answer, but social conditions seem likely to be very significant. Most people who experimented with drugs are young people whose lives are fairly empty. They do not communicate particularly well with their families. They are not successful at school. Their future prospects are not good. With little to do and a lot of time to kill, they are bored and do not have much joy or fulfillment in their lives. In such circumstances, drugs can seem attractive. They can indeed give great mental and physical pleasure, and most people fool themselves into believing that they can be a moderate drug user rather than a pitiable addict. Drug pushers, of course, want customers, so they spot the weak and hook them first. These people encourage their friends to try, and then peer pressure mounts on everyone in the group to join in. Undoubtedly, some people manage to restrict and control their drug use, but many do not. Drugs are highly addictive, and bad circles of dependency can develop. The drug gives great pleasure, and that high is inevitably followed by a low, and to escape that low, a higher dosage of the personality-changing drug is needed. The drug abuser's personality begins to change as everything else in life becomes secondary to the addiction. Old interests are forgotten, relationships dropped, and work neglected. The addict becomes cunning and dishonest, robbing friends and family, perhaps becoming a dealer as well, to support the costly addiction. A pleasant young person has become a menace to him or herself and to society. The addict is on a downward spiral to loss of health, loss of friends, loss of freedom, and ultimately loss of life. It is clear that these ugly facts must be presented to the young people who are most at risk through clear information. Films like The Basketball Diaries that tell a true story, followed by a frank discussion of the issue. Reformed addicts should be encouraged to talk of their experiences, so that no one is unaware of the risks attached to being even the most casual of drug users. At the same time, young people need to be offered alternative ways to fill their lives. This must be done by means of lifestyle education, backed by improved education and the provision of adequate recreational facilities. Finally, high-profile enforcement of the law by the police is important in order to show youngsters that drug pushers will always be punished. Well-informed and occupied youngsters in a drug-free atmosphere must be our goal.